about 3 years.
Maryland, he's a local Maryland boy. Moved out to LA. He's coming back to do some comedy for us. You guys ready for your headliner of the evening? You guys ready for your headliner of the evening? Give it up for Mr. Thomas Young!
Thank you. I am from Maryland, and being back has actually reminded me of what my childhood dream was. It was not actually comedy. When I was a kid, my dream was I wanted to be a professional athlete. Anybody here have that same dream when they were a kid? Yeah. Specifically, I wanted to play professional soccer. That was my sport. I loved it. I was obsessed with it. And I thought I could do it too, until I got to high school, where coach didn't like me. I was a 3-year varsity player, sat the bench, never played. Until my senior year, which was in the fall of 2002, here in the state of Maryland. The same time, 2 asshole serial killers known as the DC Snipers were running around killing people with an assault rifle. So coach basically waited till the one point in our state's history when like nobody wanted to be in the middle of an open field. That's when he said, "Young, warm up, you're getting in the game." I'm over there stretching. "What position, coach?" "All of them. You're going to be our only guy out there." He hands me a new jersey. I'm like, "Are we sponsored by Target now? What the fuck?" If you wanted to cut me, that just seems excessive, you know? I don't know. High school was a really confusing time for me, because I don't know if you guys found the same thing, but it seemed to be in high school, most of what they try to teach you, what they really try to drill into your head is focused on what not to do. They say, don't drink, don't do drugs, don't have sex, don't bully your classmates. And then you go down the hall to your English class where you read books that glorify all of those things. They're like, they tell you don't drink and don't have sex, and then they're like, now we're gonna read The Great Gatsby. It's a book about a bootlegger who throws wild parties and tries to fuck another dude's wife. They say, don't bully your classmates. I love that one. And then they make you read The Scarlet Letter. In that book, an entire village just slut-shames the shit out of one poor woman. And it was the preacher that knocked her up. How fucked up is that? I'd say spoiler alert, that book's like 200 years old. I don't know. I hate it. Like you know, it's a Sunday night, but a lot of us are drinking here. I love drinking. Like, I hate it whenever anybody says don't drink. Like, alcohol can ruin your life. Like, no, not knowing how to moderate ruins your life. Alcohol is amazing. I know this because in the history class down the other hall, they taught us that a lot of people did incredible things while being alcoholics. No, seriously, you have Buzz Aldrin, Winston Churchill, Ulysses S. Grant, Edgar Allan Poe, Ernest Hemingway, Charles Dickens, Babe Ruth, and Mickey Mantle, Benjamin Franklin, Pablo Picasso, Ludwig von Beethoven. All of them raging alcoholics. You know who didn't drink? Hitler. We don't have to argue about that anymore. Like we love drinking in this country too. It's hard to believe that we ever actually had prohibition. I watched a documentary about that recently, actually, and it was creatively titled Prohibition. Actually, it should have been called The Worst Decision Our Country's Ever Made. Actually, no, even slavery's probably the worst decision we've ever made. Prohibition, close second. But the facts in this thing blew me away. I was watching, and they said in the year, like 100 years before Prohibition, they said in the year 1830, the average American above the age of 15, not 18, not 21, above the age of 15, drank 80 bottles of whiskey a year. Like, I don't like it when people romanticize the past, when they're like, man, I wish I could have lived back then, but like, I kind of wish I could have lived back then. My behavior would be socially acceptable. I would have been like a town mayor. It would have been great. I just recently found out, they said tonight, they were like, oh, by the way, you can't take a drink on stage with you. That's like a county law. You can't have a drink on stage. And then it's a good thing I didn't smoke pot before this, because I would have been paranoid, been like, this is a sting operation for last year when I was here. I totally had a glass of Jameson up here. Shit. Anyway, what I was talking about though, I think like the only thing in high school that they ever tell you that you should do is stay in school, go to college. If I ever have kids, I can't really in any right mind tell them to do that either. I'll explain. My sister, a little while back, my younger sister calls me up and she says, hey, great news, I got into grad school. And I said, no, don't fucking go. She was like, why? Here's the thing. She went to college on a full ride athletic scholarship. She came out without owing a dime to anybody, and now they're sucking her back in. Colleges are basically like casinos. They just want to keep you playing until they have all your money. Pretty soon you're going to have buildings on college campuses that it's like don't have any clocks or windows. It's going to be hard to find the exits. All I'm saying is I'd feel better about my student loan debt if I had at least gotten free drinks while I was playing. At student loan, like I'm 30 and I'm still like 40 grand in the hole thereabouts for student loans. It sucks because it like stresses you out on a daily basis. Like the other day, I was hanging out at home. I was watching I got stoned and was watching a movie. Don't fucking judge me, but I'm watching I got high. I'm watching the movie Goodfellas. Have you guys ever seen that? Yeah. Great fucking movie. A classic gangster film. But they got to this part in the movie where they explain how like you don't ever want to owe money to the mafia because they don't want excuses. They just say fuck you, pay me. That's their line. Fuck you, pay me. And that's when I started getting paranoid because I realized the company I owe my loans to must be owned by the mafia. The fucking Navient, they call me every day and they don't want excuses. They're like, oh, you got laid off? Fuck you, pay me. You had unforeseen medical bills? Fuck you, pay me. You can't find a job because you got a degree in the arts? Fuck you, pay me. That's right, I went to film school. And people are like, yeah, no shit, 2 film references in the first 5 minutes, we get it. Oh man. Movies are my life. I've been obsessed with, it's been a lifelong obsession. I love movies. But like the older I get, I feel like I notice more shit. Like movies that I loved, I notice more shit in them that's just fucked up. Like I was last week, I was hanging out with all my nieces and nephews. It was like the first time I'd seen them all in a long time, and they were all hanging out. We were like, "What do you guys want to do?" They wanted to watch a movie. They wanted to watch all the old Disney animated films, and I was like, "Great, you know, classic movies, beautiful animation. I grew up watching that shit. It's great stuff." As I'm watching it, it dawns on me that all those movies like Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, all they do is teach young girls how to become gold diggers. Like, think about it. Like, any female character in any Disney movie ever made, what's your resolution? Marry a rich guy and your problems just go away. If clear heels are what strippers wear, what is Cinderella teaching young girls? Glass slippers? Bullshit, those are clear heels. The only reason the prince didn't know her name was because he was too drunk from the night before to remember who gave him the lap dance. I kind of like knowing what I know about life now, I want to see a realistic sequel to Cinderella, where it's like 10 years down the road, her and the prince are married now, they've had a few kids, but they've grown apart because he's the king now, he's always working, he doesn't have time for the family, and they end up getting divorced, and she gets half the kingdom in the settlement, and she's young and glamorous, she runs off, starts dating millionaires and running charities, he's going bald trying to keep his shit together. Cinderella gets killed in a car accident in Paris while being chased by paparazzi. He's got to go to the funeral and pretend like he's still in love with her to keep up public support for his regime so they can stay in power. That's how it happens in real life. There's no happy endings. I love horror movies. Anybody here love horror movies? I love that shit, but the older I get, the more like little things in them irritate the shit out of me. Like why are stoners always the first ones to die in horror films? That doesn't make sense. No, here's the thing. Hear me out, man. I've thought about this. Wait a minute. When you're stoned, you get paranoid. If I'm out in a house in the woods in the middle of nowhere with my friends and we're getting high, I don't know why we're doing it out there, but just, there's no movie otherwise. But if we're out there getting high, the second I hear a creak upstairs or a rustle in the bushes outside, I'm gonna be like, guys, we gotta go. There's a killer waiting to strike. Get the keys, let's go. Some dickhead's always like, well, Tom, what about Brad and Janet? They've been gone a long time. They went off to fool around. We should go look for them. Fuck Brad and Janet. They knew the risk when they left the group. All I know is this place is freaking me out, and Chipotle is only open for another 10 minutes. So we gotta go. I've always been obsessed with movies. I've never actually watched a ton of TV, but now Netflix and Hulu and shit like that, I've fallen into the same trap that everyone has of just marathoning TV shows, catching up on old shit that I never watched for some reason. And I've kind of realized now that you can more or less gauge our country's mood, general mood, based on the TV titles that we watch. When you think about it, when TV started back in the 50s, and from that point on, when our country was in a general way doing much better, all the TV titles were very happy, very upbeat kind of shit. It was I Love Lucy, Happy Days, All in the Family, Friends, Cheers, Murder, She Wrote. Very happy, upbeat titles. The last 15 years, though, the world's gotten a little darker. It's a little scarier nowadays. And you can totally tell, because for the past 15 years we've been watching shit like Mad Men, Breaking Bad, The Walking Dead, House of Cards, Game of Thrones, How I Met Your Mother. Very pessimistic, downbeat titles. If any married people are rolling your eyes, it is pessimistic because statistically it's probably going to end in divorce. I'm just saying. I don't know. The only thing with TV, I have a strange obsession. I love true crime documentaries. It's weird. Even the shitty ones with the bad reenactments. I love it. I always end up watching shows about serial killers. I don't know what that says about me. But I was watching one the other day, and it kind of blew me away. They were talking about Ted Bundy, one of the most notorious serial killers ever in this country. And in this documentary, they said when he was in college, he actually worked as an operator for a suicide hotline. I was like, what? And he was good at his job too. So it dawned on me, Ted Bundy saved lives. That freaked me out. And they didn't really get into it in the show. But what I want to know is, by the time they executed him, what was the balance on the account? Was he in the red still, or he's all right, I'm gonna save 33, so when I kill 33 later, it's gonna be okay. But that shit fascinates me though, because I'm watching it, and they were talking about a lot of terms that get thrown around on the news, terms like mass murderer and serial killer that get used interchangeably a lot. But the thing is, they actually mean two different things. A mass murderer is somebody we're very good at producing those in this country. Mass murderer is the kind of guy who walk into a fucking church, a restaurant, a school, a movie theater, whatever, with an assault rifle and just blow a bunch of people away in one go. They're very much kind of one-hit wonders, they do their thing and they get either caught or they're dead, whatever. And then the thing is with serial killers though, they want longevity. They want a career. They're like the Rolling Stones, where you see all this shit happening, and you're like, man, how are they not in jail yet? All the shit they've done. I don't know. And it kind of made me realize some fucked up shit about myself, because I'm watching this, and they went down a list of, they actually had, they talked about the top 10 serial killers, based on confirmed victims. It's not based on originality or whatever. Bottom of a river, never seen that one before. He goes high to the Billboard charts. But But like they said, it made me strangely competitive because it turns out the highest ranking American was only number 10. And I was like, that's bullshit. We can do better than that. We want to be number 1 in everything, don't we? Come on, this is a country where we have a constitutional right to bear arms. Surely we can produce better serial killers. Jesus. I don't know. Netflix makes me watch some weird shit. It's strange. The thing is, having all that shit like just on demand anytime you want it, it sucks because it makes you so indecisive. You're like overwhelmed with options. The other day, it took me 4 hours to decide which 45-minute episode of The X-Files I wanted to watch. Which, by the way, I love that show when I was a kid. I've rediscovered it as an adult. How did Scully stay so skeptical for 9 seasons? The season finale of the first one, she held an alien fetus in her hand. It's like, well, when does Mulder get to the point like, Scully, seriously, shut the fuck up? They do exist. The truth is out there. Having everything like on demand and everything's digital, like we've all got our cell phones. It makes us indecisive and lazy. I hate it, and it kind of freaks me out too because like a while back I lost my cell phone. I don't know about you guys, but I lock the screen with a little code, and I do that because your cell phone knows everything about you. Your cell phone has if you do online banking, it's got your banking stuff. It has your internet browser history. It's seen every drunk text or dick pic you've ever sent. It has your, if you use online dating apps, it sees all that shit. I would say that your cell phone is like your best friend, but it's actually more like a drunk ex-girlfriend. Because if somebody finds it in a bar, all they have to do is say one right word to it, and they're going to tell that person all of your secrets. It's bullshit. And you don't realize how much your phone doubles for, too. Like, I tried going out without my phone. I felt so naked without it. Because I thought about everything my phone does. If I put that into a bag to take with me, I'd need a fucking laptop, phone book, interstate highway map, compass, flashlight, notebook, voicemail, voice recorder, gaming system. I'm like, fuck it, I don't even want to go out anymore. This bag is... I need a shopping cart for all of this shit. It's bullshit. I'm telling you, everything's at our fingertips and all it's doing is making us indecisive. Do any of you guys know somebody who cannot answer just a simple yes or no question? That drives me so crazy. That's so frustrating. And I got a buddy who does that shit all the time. And it's worse because he's always like breaking up and getting back together with his girlfriend, So finally I asked him, I'm like, dude, what's going on with you guys? Like, are you dating or what? And he says, I don't know. Same shit. I'm like, well, you stayed at her place last night. Did you guys fuck? And he says, sort of. You can't say sort of to answer that. When you say sort of, it makes it sound like whatever happened probably wasn't consensual. That's not a gray area you want to play in. People are indecisive. And the thing is, on top of that too, people don't ever really listen to how they speak. Especially women give each other the weirdest compliments. I was at a store the other day, and I hear two behind me in line talking, and one seriously caressed the other's arm and goes, "You have beautiful skin." If I said that to a woman, I'd sound like a serial killer. I'm like, "You have beautiful skin. Please don't murder me and wear it now." That creepy guy just told me I have beautiful skin. What the fuck? People don't listen to how they talk. I was out at a bar with a couple friends of mine, and this beautiful woman comes walking in the bar, a beautiful young woman, and she passes by, and of course, we all kind of lean to check her out. One of my buddies, after she goes by, one of my buddies says, "Man, she has a killer smile." Killer smile. That's how you describe an attractive young woman's face. When I think of killer smile, I think of something like... I think of some gross middle-aged guy who's got me chained up in his basement. He's probably wearing a clown outfit. doesn't make sense. Think of how you talk. There's a lot of, in the business world, there's a lot of expressions I can't stand. I fucking hate it. I hate having like a regular shitty day job because have any of you guys ever heard of the Human Resources Department? HR. I hate that. They try to be like so sensitive to like everyone's needs in the workplace while still being impersonal and dehumanizing. You're not a human being, you're a human resource. You know what they called a human resource back in the day? A slave. I hate the phrase peeping Tom. My name's Tom, you've all already forgotten. This is great. Making an impression. Making a good impression. I hate that phrase though because like I want to know where the fuck that came. Why is Tom the name? Like where did that come from? Like was there some town back in the day like middle of nowhere with like where everybody knew everybody, kind of like Frederick, and people be talking like, did you hear? Oh, they caught peeping Tom in the girls' locker room again today. We gotta fucking do something about that guy, don't we? So all the townspeople get together and they decide, you know what? Here's the thing. We're gonna give this guy's name to an entire category of perverts and criminals. Who the fuck was Peeping Tom? That's all I want to know. He probably had a killer smile. I don't know. I try not to be so pessimistic. Like I know I'm pretty in a general way. I'm pretty negative about technology and about people, but I like there is amazing stuff happening. I read about NASA and shit like all the time. I love that shit. Like, do you guys know we're building the Mars ship? We're going. Like it's gonna happen in our lifetimes. Maybe, well, some of us, maybe not all of you. But it's gonna happen though, man, and I'm so psyched. I want it to happen. I want us, in my lifetime, I really want to see us go to other planets. I want to see us establish permanent colonies, like real cities, you know? Not for any practical purpose, mind you, I just want to see professional sports in outer space. Think about that shit. Less gravity makes everything more interesting. It'll make baseball interesting. You'd be watching a game on the moon, you go, here's the windup and the pitch. He got a hold of that one. It looks like it's reached escape velocity. It has gone into orbit. Gee, I sure hope it doesn't take out the satellite carrying our feed of the game to you folks at home. If you do, like when you're a kid, if you go play with your friends, it makes the stakes higher. Because if you break a window, like 4 people die from rapid decompression, you know? You break the window, you're like, oh shit, man, if mom survives, I am so grounded. She's gonna ground me in Earth years, not lunar years. That sucks. That's stupid. I love reading about that shit, partly because when I was a kid, I was like obsessed. I loved science fiction. Like I read and watched just like everything I could on it, and all those concepts just fascinate me. But there's a few things that I think science fiction gets wrong. Like if we ever like leave this planet, like we're probably gonna have to soon, but if we ever leave and we get out there and we find like some advanced alien civilization, like it's not gonna be like Star Trek. There's not gonna be any Federation. Because the first time we ask them if like we can crash with them, they'd be like, no, dude, we saw how you trashed the last place you stayed. Basically, like, we're probably not going to pass their credit check, is what I'm saying. I don't think we're going to get a damage deposit back on this planet either. Another thing that happens in sci-fi all the time that I'm like, that would never happen, is in all these like big, like Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever, they've always got one character who's like half human, half alien. You know, like probably the most well-known one is Spock from Star Trek. He's like half human, half Vulcan, I think it was. And I don't want to out myself as that big of a nerd, but it's like, hey, the thing is, that would never, ever happen. I'm gonna ignore the whole issue of like if we meet another alien race that's, you know, evolved through millions of years differently from us, like the odds of our genitals matching up, not good. Like but we're not gonna get into that. We're not gonna get into that. The thing is, you know that like when the day the Spocks went to get married at like the church or the fucking courthouse or synagogue, space station, wherever it happened, you know there were like 500 people outside with signs being like, "This human-alien marriage makes a mockery of my human-human marriage." The Bible clearly says Adam and Eve, not Adam and Spock. That would make it gay and interspecies. That would piss a lot of people off, wouldn't it? Spock's a dude. What am I talking about? I don't know. I would be too paranoid to actually have sex with an alien, though, because here's the thing. I'm too scared of, like, STDs from people. Who knows what fucking aliens, what kind of acid blood AIDS they've got, you know? I don't even need to fuck with that. Makes me paranoid. I am single and I live in a city like LA, so yes, I've been tested a couple times. And now you're all uncomfortable. But I went, and it sucks because I don't know if any of you guys have ever been tested or you just don't want to have an awkward moment with your date, but if you've never been to the health department before, when you go in, before a doctor ever actually sees you, before they ever draw blood or anything, they have a nurse who sits down with you with a clipboard, and she goes through, she asks you a whole list of questions. You know what I'm talking about. And here's the thing, I wish she would just give me the clipboard and let me do it myself, yeah. But the thing is, I don't mind sharing that information. Everybody knows why I'm there. I just don't need the judgment that comes with that conversation. Last time I was there, we're going down the list, she goes, have you had sex in the last 6 months? Yes. With men, women, or both? Women? Have you had any oral sex in the last 6 months? Yes. Giving, receiving, or both? I said receiving, and she rolled her eyes at me. Typical selfish man. What was that? Nothing. Bullshit, man. Being single in like in a major city has taught me one thing though. There are some definite like double standards with men or women, and I experienced one recently. I had a fling with a woman. She was a little older than me. I won't tell you guys how old because that's impolite. I'll just tell you she was born the same year the Beatles' White Album came out, and it was weird because you know we just had like nothing in common. Like when she was born, we had guys orbiting the moon. LBJ was in office. When I was born, the movie Teen Wolf came out and Reagan was in. Like we've got nothing to talk about. And I told my buddies that like this happened, and they were like, "Oh man, cougar, that's awesome, cool." But then I was like, you know, I need to find somebody a little more age appropriate. And so I meet another young woman, get her phone number. A couple nights later, I call her up. I say, hey, you know, some friends of mine, we're all going out to grab a drink at this place. You want to come hang out? And she goes, I would, but I'm only 19. Fuck. I made the mistake of telling my buddies about that because I went from being awesome back to creepy really fucking fast. I don't know. The longest relationship I've ever been in was 3 years, and that woman fucked with my head in the worst ways possible. I'll tell you how. We lived together, and this one night, it's like a Tuesday night, it's getting close to midnight, I'm about to fall asleep, and I hear out of the darkness next to me, hey babe. Yeah, what's going on? She says, babe, wake up. I said, what's up? She goes, what if this is it? What are you talking about? She goes, like, what if this is it? What if, like, when we die, nothing happens? I get up, she's like, where are you going? I turn the light on, storm out. She's like, what's wrong? Are you mad? Mad? Oh, no, I'm not mad. I've only got to be at work at 6 in the morning, and now I'm going to be up all night watching old episodes of The Simpsons to get the deep existential dilemma out of my head that you fucking put there! Can't you just let me go to sleep on a Tuesday night thinking I'm going to live forever like a normal person does? She knew that was gonna fuck with me too, because I was raised Catholic. I don't really know what I am anymore, but like my model of the afterlife is just like eventually you're gonna get judged along with everyone who's ever existed by God, and if that happens in front of everybody else, that's gonna be really embarrassing because there's gonna be a lot of women there that I masturbated to. A lot of my older sister's friends are gonna be like, Thomas, dude, god damn it. I'll go to hell. I don't want to like hang out with that guy now. That's a bold assumption that I'd be going to heaven. I don't know. Oh god. But the thing is though, I was with that woman for 3 years and she fucked with my head, but she did teach me one important lesson. And that's that you know a relationship is over when your life with that person is so boring and mundane that even the arguments suck. That's true. When we first started dating, all the arguments were about jealousy and angst. It was like, why were you flirting with that waitress at the restaurant? And I was like, I wasn't. I don't know what you're talking about. After 3 years of living together, the arguments become, why the fuck can't you eat the vegetables out of the refrigerator before they go bad? It's a waste of money. Sorry, I didn't want to have raw carrots after work. She sniffs me and goes, are you stoned? Why are you so high on a Tuesday afternoon? I said, I'm trying to make myself hungry enough to eat the fucking carrots. But you have a burrito in your hand. I heard a creak upstairs, thought a killer was in the house, decided to go to Chipotle instead. Dating is hard now too, because it's like when you get a woman's number, like how long are you supposed to wait to text her? Or to call her, not text her, you don't text. I had a buddy who told me to text a woman out on a first date, and I was like, no, you can't text. If you text a woman to ask her out, like, you might as well write in the text of that text, that, great word usage, but, he says, you might as well write in that text, hey, I had a great time hanging out with you at the party the other night. I'd really like to be inside you, consensually, of course, but I'm too big of a pussy to actually call and let you hear the quivering in my voice due to my complete and utter lack of self-esteem. My ex made sure to destroy that when she made fun of me in front of my friends for not making enough money. Now she's dating a guy with a bigger bank account and a nicer car, but I'm rambling. You don't want to hear about that. Want to get coffee sometime? ... question mark. That's what you're really saying. There's crazy assholes out there now too, making dating even harder. There's like men's rights groups. Have you heard about that? It's fucking like men's. I didn't know about it was like a thing until they were protesting like recent movies that they thought had too pro-feminist a message. And it was like, what rights do you think we don't have? As men, we've always been able to vote. We've always been able to own land. Used to have people. Up until like 10 years ago, you could totally just like make a woman have sex with you and get away with it. I'm not saying like, oh, we should go back to the good old days. Don't get the wrong idea. But it's like, what do we not have, you know? And I found out, I'm like, where did this start? And it turns out the movement was kind of started by a guy named Warren Farrell. Already kind of sounds like a dude who doesn't get laid often. And I read about him, and it turned, in the 70s, this was a guy who was like kind of a male leader in the feminist movement. And I was like, okay, that's odd. When did that flip happen? Well, on more research, I found out, it turns out in the early 80s, he wrote a book. This is a guy who like used to hang out with like Gloria Steinem and shit like that. He wrote a book kind of condemning feminism, and he wrote it after his wife, who was like a successful executive type, divorced him and married another successful executive. I'm like, oh, this guy totally has an objective point of view on gender relations, doesn't he? That sounds suspiciously like Hitler getting rejected from art school. I bet you Warren Farrell doesn't drink either. Personally, I respect women. I have huge respect for women because I grew up in a large family. I'm the fourth of 6 kids. I grew up in a house with 3 sisters, my mom and my grandmother, and they all terrified me. When I was 9, I saw my mom and my sister get into an argument, and my older sister, kind of a shitty teenager, I'll just say it, and I was a good kid. But she had an argument, it was like one of those, fuck you, Mom, and she storms off and like slams her bedroom door behind her. My mom just comes tearing down that hallway, puts her back up against the opposite wall, kicks the door off its hinges, like it's a fucking episode of Cops. And me and my siblings are peeking from around the corner like, Mom is gonna kill her. And that's, very early on, it dawned on me why Dad only gets mad about shit when Mom is mad about shit. He's terrified of her too. I mean, he loves her, but I'm pretty sure it's like a Stockholm Syndrome kind of thing. They're great parents. They're supportive parents. But the thing is, the best, most supportive parents have their limits, though. They always, most parents, like you'll notice, their support for you following your dreams dwindles with how close you are to 30. I used to have conversations on the phone with my dad where he's like, Thomas, you're always out there struggling. Like, you got to pay your bills. You got to get a job. And I'm like, Dad, you're the one who told me that if I had a goal, if I wanted to be a comic, I gotta go for it. I can't let anything get in my way. And you could tell he was just like, I didn't know you were listening to me. Like I said, I was the fourth of 6 kids. If he knew I was, like, they were phoning it in by the time they got to me, you know. If he knew I was listening, he probably would have said, get a job, don't sit on your ass watching old episodes of The X-Files on Netflix every day. I am, though. I'm 30 now. I'm trying to be an adult. I have real shit to worry about. I have real shit in my life. Like, I have adult concerns. I have roaches in my apartment. Do any of you guys deal with that? Oh, yeah. They fucking suck. They suck. They're in your walls. They see you when you're sleeping. They're like Santa Claus, but disgusting. And the thing is, too, they're getting fucking bold now, too. They'll just be, like, hanging out on the wall with the lights on or off. It doesn't matter. Like, spraying them with the Raid, it's not really doing the trick anymore. Like, it's getting to the point now where I've got to, like, I got to send a message. I got to do something drastic. Next time I see one of those little bastards crawling across my floor, I'm going to cut his head off, stick it on a toothpick, and put it out in the middle of my kitchen, scream to his friends in the walls, tell the others what you've seen here today! I've got war paint on, I'm holding a torch in my kitchen, I don't know why. Basically, I'm fighting a counterinsurgency campaign against these little assholes. They're like the Viet Cong. They got tunnels everywhere. And it's reached the next phase, massive strategic bombing. I went to the hardware store, I was like, guys, those bug bombs you gave me aren't really doing the trick, I need something stronger. And they were like, well, how strong? I said, well, like, roaches can survive a nuclear blast, right? I need something that requires UN permission to go in there and just incinerate these little fuckers. It's weird though, because like when I really like think about the situation though, from their point of view, they've probably got to feel a little bit like Native Americans. Because they were just hanging out, living their lives, till one day a group of white people showed up and were like, this is our home now. We start driving them off and massacring them by the thousands. The only real difference is I'll probably never name a professional sports team after the roaches. I'm trying to be an adult now. I can't do the crazy shit that I used to do when I was in college and shit. And it's hard because doing something like stand-up, I have a lot of friends who are way younger, a lot of people in like their early 20s who are still in that like we want to rage and party phase, you know? Like this guy with his water and lemon. But they want to rage though, and they want me to do crazy shit with them. I have a group of them were trying to get me to do acid with them. Fucking LSD, and I'm like, I mean, you know, be safe, do what you want, have fun, I'm not judging, but like, I think I missed the boat on acid. I think that's something you gotta do when you're like 19 or 20, you're in college, you don't have a lot of like real responsibility. I have too many adult concerns now for acid to be fun. If I did it, everybody else would be having a great time, I'd be huddled in the corner crying, thinking the sound's cutting out. And I'll keep seeing the clown from Stephen King's It popping up telling me I've defaulted on another student loan, you know? I'm bawling my eyes out, he's over here going, your credit score floats down here with me. The only real experience I ever had with like the hardest I ever let myself go was I did shrooms once when I was in college. I was at the beach with my buddies on spring break, and I don't do it anymore because it made me do the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. I decided one night while tripping on mushrooms it was a good idea to go swimming in the ocean at night by myself on the East Coast in March. That shit was cold. And I get out there, and it was amazing too. I'm out there swimming. It was amazing. It was the dumbest thing I've ever done, but it was incredible. And I get out there, I'm looking at the stars twinkling, and I'm like, just the waves are crashing. I'm having a great time. And all of a sudden, I start to freak out because I realize, oh wait, this is just like the opening scene from Jaws. Fuck! I'm like treading water. I'm freaking out, convinced that there's a great white circling about to strike. I'm treading, trying to remember everything I've ever seen on Shark League. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Punch him in his nose, tickle his gills. What the fuck am I supposed to do? And then, like, this is like when I was like, I can't do this anymore, because this is how fucked up I was. After having that freak out, I realized, wait a minute. If there's really a shark down there who's about to strike, I'll hear his theme music slowly start to build. If I hear that, dun, head to the beach, I can swim away. I never let myself dabble in like harder shit after that anymore, because it makes you do stupid shit, and also I know I have an addictive personality. Like, when I love something, I do the shit out of it. There's, like, no moderation. I'm not going to be one of those amazing historical figures who was an alcoholic that I told you about earlier. And the thing is, I have, like, one vice, though. One vice that I have absolutely... Like, I drink, I smoke pot, that's about as hard as I go. But I have one vice that I cannot ever shake, that I have no willpower to deny. And it's so lame because that's junk food. Pringles are like heroin, man. You're all looking at me like I'm crazy. No. I got to a point one time where I only had like $10 in the bank and I had rent coming up, and I was like, I can still get like 4 cans of Pringles with that. It's not a stretch to think that I would suck dick for a can of Pringles. That's all I'm saying. It's bad. This is how much of an addict I am, too. I went on their website because I was like, I wonder how many flavors they actually have. Something stupid like that. And I found out one of their new slogans is, Pringles, you don't just eat them. What are you supposed to do? Grind them up and snort them? Like, cook them with some baking soda, shoot that shit? That implies a lot. So I tried to snort them later that night. Didn't go well. Salt, not good up the nose. It's bad though. Like I'm so addicted to junk food. Like in any relationship, the way to my heart is definitely through my stomach. I picked up a girl one time on a first date, and she hands me like she fresh baked cookies for me, wrapped in tinfoil. She hands them, and she goes, "Here, I made you cookies." Immediately in my mind, I'm going, "I love you." I don't know what we talked about the rest of the date, you know? She could have told me she had bad credit, a heroin addiction, and AIDS, and I'm sitting there thinking she's the one. I don't know. It's stupid. Yeah. I am trying, like I said, I'm 30. I just had a knee surgery because nothing says you're 30 like a knee operation, and I couldn't like get any kind of exercise for 6 months. So I was like, yeah, I really got to start eating healthier. I got to pay attention what I eat, and like that's cool. I have a lot of friends who do that. Anybody here try to like eat healthy? Like usually go for like the salad instead of the steak. You know? Anybody do that? That's cool, but keep that shit to yourself. Healthy eaters are so fucking obnoxious. I have a buddy who's like he gives me shit about it all the time too. And I was hanging out with him one day, and I was making out my grocery list because I was like, he goes, what are you gonna get? And I said, I had a little extra cash. I think I'll get a steak. I haven't had a good steak in a while. He says, no, dude, you want to eat red meat? It's bad for your heart, clogs your arteries. You don't want to eat any of that shit. So I said, fine. I guess I'll get some fish, like some tilapia or something. That's supposed to be healthy for you, isn't it? He says, no, man, don't you know that, like, all seafood nowadays is, like, toxic because of all the pollution in the oceans? You don't want to eat any of that shit. I'm like, great, okay, I'm getting frozen chicken breasts like I always do. It's cheap, it's easy to make, it's delicious. He says, no, man, don't you know on the factory farms, they, like, raise the chickens in their own shit, and they feed them things like arsenic to, like, change the color of the meat? Like, you don't want to eat that shit. like, all right, I guess I'm getting nothing but fruits and veggies, nothing but fruits and vegetables. He says, no, on those same factory farms, they genetically modify the fucking vegetables, so it's probably gonna like give you cancer down the road. They use all these chemicals and pesticides. You don't want to eat any of that shit, man. Finally, I'm getting as annoyed with him as you guys are at this whole story. And just to be a smartass, I look at him, I say, all right, I'm just gonna go cannibal then. I'm gonna start eating people. And he says, no, dude, have you seen the shit people eat? If you're gonna go cannibal, you only want to eat vegans, grass-fed humans. They have them at Trader Joe's, Whole Foods. Thank you guys. My name's Thomas Young.
Keep it going for Mr. Thomas Young, everybody.